Okay, in 7.7, we're going to solve for right triangles. That means that you're going to use inverse trig of tan, sine, and cosine, depending on what's appropriate, or straight up trig to get missing sides. Remember, inverse, you use that only to get angles. Okay, let's take some of these notes. To solve a triangle, it means to find the measure of all of its missing sides and its missing angles. So remember, when you use inverse, you are looking for angles. So this is all about angles. When you use straight sine, cosine, and tan, you are finding missing sides. Okay, so read the vocabulary, and then it says example 1. Use an inverse tangent to find an angle measurement. So it says use a calculator to approximate the measure of angle A. Okay, so from angle A's perspective, this is the opposite and this is the adjacent. Let's do the whole SOHCAHTOA because we're allowed to use anything we need. They can. That makes sense since I've been given the opposite and the adjacent. So the tan of angle A equals 15 over 20. Therefore, angle A, I can derive that by doing the inverse tan of 15 over 20 in my calculator. And when you do that, what should you get? Let's see. So I'm going to put that in my calculator. So I want A. So from A's perspective, are you clear that you have opposite over adjacent? I'm going to say second tan of 15 divided by 20, and that's going to give me an angle of 36.9 degrees. Okay, now they say find angle C. Okay, so from angle C's perspective, I don't have the hypotenuse still, so I'm still going to use tan. So the tan of angle C equals opposite, this time is 20 over 15. So this time this is opposite and this is adjacent. Because remember, the orientation changes. What never changes? The hypotenuse never changes. Okay, so then in order to get angle C, I'm going to say tan -1 of 20 over 15, and angle C ends up being 53.1 degrees. Angle C and angle A will sum to 90 because they are complementary. Now they say find the hypotenuse. So I'm thinking I can use Pythagorean theorem. Leg squared plus leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared, which is little b squared in this situation. So what is 15 squared? That is 225, and then 20 squared is 400. That has to equal b squared. These two added together is 625 equal b squared. So take the second square root of 625 and you get that b, which is what we're looking for, which is the hypotenuse, is 25. So that was a triple, and there you have it. Okay, example 2. What if I give you this as a decimal? How will you get the angle? Well, a decimal is just another way to write a fraction. So take your inverse trig of 0.87 in your calculator. That was sine 0.87, and I'm getting an angle of 60.5 degrees. Just make sure that you can get that. Okay? I want an angle back. Whenever I want an angle, I'm going to use inverse trig. Okay, angle B should be 81.4 degrees if you put this in your graphing calculator. Okay, here's a picture now. So let's figure out what they want. It says solve the triangle. They want everything. Okay, so what's the easiest thing to get? I am thinking angle B is the easiest thing to get because angle B is a complement of angle A. So 90 minus angle A, which is 42 degrees, will give me 48 degrees for angle B. That is super easy. So this is now 48 degrees. I'm going to use this angle. And from that angle's perspective, I'm going to say the tan of 42 equals opposite, which is little a, over adjacent, which is 70. Okay, so then do your cross products. 70 times the tan of 42 should equal A, and A is 63.0 feet. Because remember, I'm looking for a side and not an angle. So now I have 63.0 feet. Let's get the hypotenuse. Why don't I can use cosine. Cosine of 42 equals adjacent over little baby c. Do your cross products. C times the cosine of 42 equals 70. Divide by cosine 42. Divide by cosine 42. And that should get me the hypotenuse, which I'm calling the C side, is 94.2. And these are all feet. Okay, so here are my answers. That's one missing side. This is another missing side. And here is a missing angle. So I have all the missing pieces. Okay, here's some extra practice. Use inverse trig to approximate the measure of angle Q. That's all they want. So they want angle Q. Well, this is opposite and this is adjacent. I'm going to use tan because tan is opposite over adjacent. So the tan of angle Q equals 12 over 8. Therefore, angle Q itself is going to be tan -1 of 12 over 8. And I get that angle to the nearest tenth of a degree to be 56.3 degrees. And there you have it. Okay, let's keep going. It says, let angle C be an acute angle in a right triangle. Use inverse trig to approximate the measure. Okay, so if sine of C equals 0.25, then angle C is sine to the -1, and it's 0.24. I said 5. So you should be getting an angle of 13.9 degrees. Then let's do the other one. So this would be A, which I just did in purple. So let's do B in green. And B says that the cosine of C is 0.37. Therefore, C is cosine -1. I'm looking for an angle of 0.37. And that angle ends up being 68.3 degrees. Okay, so I've got both of my angles here and here. Okay, so let's see what else we have. Okay, so here we have, it says, solve the right triangle formed by the water slide shown in the figure. Round decimal answers to the nearest tenth. That means that your float is at 1. Okay, if they want to solve for the triangle, what do I need? Well, I'm going to need this side, and that angle. Let's get the angle first. So angle Z is the complement to angle X. So take 90 minus 42, and you should get angle Z to be 48 degrees. Okay, so this is 48 degrees. Now, I'm going to use this angle. And I'm going to say, let's see, what do I want to do? I want to say the sine of 42 degrees equals little x over the hypotenuse, because sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Do your cross products. 50 times the sine of 42 will equal x. So x ends up being 33.5. So here's x, 33.5. And it's not degrees because it's a length. Okay, let's use green. And let's try to find little side z. Okay, so that's a little z. So I'm going to use 42. And I'm going to say that the cosine of 42 equals little side z over 50. Because cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Remember, everything we're doing is SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so now let's do our cross products. 50 times the cosine of 42, close your parens, is going to equal z. So 50 times the cosine of 42 gives me a z that equals 37.2. Okay, so I should not have put degrees here. I think I lost my head. So 37.2 is right here, and now we have all the sides of the triangle and also the missing angle. Okay, your job is to complete this homework on these 2 pages. Okay, thank you for listening. That's the end of the 7-7 notes.